John Carpenter's 1982 science fiction body horror film The Thing is a classic. I really don't know what I need to say about it other than that I love this movie so much. It's my favourite horror movie. The practical effects are so grotesque, repulsive, and just plain horrible, they're absolutely genius. And this film was modestly budgeted as well. Kurt Russell and John Carpenter are a dream team of filmmaking and acting. They worked incredibly well together, and I hope they do more things in the future one day. Every character in this movie has something to do with the plot, and they all do it really well. Even if it's a seemingly useless and slightly stereotypical character as Knowles, or a comedic, non-serious character such as Palmer, who actually plays an incredibly important part in the most shocking twist of the movie. It's action-packed, it's slightly funny, it's very tense, it's mysterious, and to this day, whenever I watch it, it still leaves a chill up my spine, even knowing every scary thing that's going to happen. And it's violent! I feel cold watching this movie. It was freezing on set, the locations were freezing, the actors literally felt the cold, and they could comfortably slip into the environment that their characters were in. It's genius. Every actor does an incredible job. The cinematography is beautiful, it looks incredible in HD, I'll give it that. But that's not to say a slightly lower quality copy doesn't complement the film, because it certainly does. If anything, it makes it creepier. The DVD I own isn't exactly high quality, and that to me just builds on it, and increases the atmosphere. This film had a horribly negative reception, and even the director of the original Thing from Another World hated this film. Everyone hated it. I, however, think it's one of the best things ever, and I'm glad that a majority of Planet Earth seem to agree with me, and they were incredibly wrong the first time around. I guess it was just unfortunate timing. And how can I go without mentioning that fucking incredible soundtrack? I love it. This is something that I want to buy on vinyl as soon as possible. I might even have to invest in that custom Thing poster monster figure. And there's so much content to unravel in this film. The deleted scenes, the lost deleted scenes, the scenes that were never even made but storyboarded, the cancelled television sequel, the video game sequel, the prequel graphic novel, the sequel comic books, the fan theories, and the mystery still surrounding the film to this day on who was a thing and who wasn't when. It's something where I don't have a thing wrong with it. And with the 40th anniversary, I guess I can't go without mentioning the prequel Thing from 2011, which a lot of people complain about. So I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's that bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, I also find it heartbreaking, disappointing, and frustrating that the wonderful practical effects were all covered up with horrible CGI, but there's a lot more to this film than you would think. Okay, firstly, if you actually watch the movie, there's only 2 stupid jump scares, one of which is a fake out where Peter scares Derek, and one at the end where the Sander thing grabs Kate. And even then, even the original Thing has a jump scare, and it's very effective. Secondly, the characters aren't exact copycats of the originals. Well, I'll admit that there are some similarities. Kate is nothing like MacReady. Carter is similar to MacReady, but is nowhere near as heroic, gruff, or alcoholic, or funny. And that's not a bad thing. Carter's his own character. He's a lot more contained and interesting in his own way. Adam is similar to Fuchs, but nowhere near as geeky and is much more cowardly. Fuchs is a lot more heroic as a character. And I find Adam has his own personality. The only thing that makes Carl similar to Fuchs is his appearance and the fact they're both biologists, but we otherwise know nothing about Carl. The only other comparisons I can think of are Derek and Childs, which is kind of racist because you're basically saying black guy is just a copy of black guy, even though they have very different personalities, especially their relationships with their respective MacReadys. I guess you could say Edvard is similar to MT Gary because they're both leaders of their outposts, but I just don't agree. One is manipulative and rude, the other is an old goat haunted by his impulse to shoot people. As for everyone else, I simply disagree. I can't recall a character similar to Clark other than maybe Colin and Lars, but all they have in common is they're both major suspects and the other one just loves dogs. What else really makes them similar? Lars is a lot more angry and confrontational than Clark is. And as for Colin, one is a grumpy Englishman, the other is a quiet dog tamer who relates more to animals than humans. And what, you're going to tell me that Blair is similar to Juliet simply because they both had disgusted reactions to the Thing being dissected? Or Henrik is similar to Bennings because they're both bearded and are the first ones to die on screen? Wait, I got another one. Olav is similar to Fuchs because they both like science and wear glasses. Because Olav definitely killed himself with a flare. He didn't have a total anxiety-driven meltdown and then got killed by the thing he feared most. Hold on, just one more. You're going to tell me Lars and Matthias are carbon copies of the helicopter pilot and the gunman in the original, right? Okay, totally makes sense. Thirdly, it sticks to the original in more ways than two. It shows us how the spaceship and the block of ice containing the thing came to be unearthed. It shows us how the axe got in the wall. It shows us how the hole in the wall and the split face came to be. It shows us how Colin's corpse came to be, even if it isn't completely accurate. It shows us how Matthias and Lars came to hunt the kennel thing, and it even takes time to explain why Kate was never seen in the original. She was on the other side of the spaceship crater through the back exit and probably died in the snow, just as McCready and Childs did, which I take as more of a homage than I do a copycat, because the director loves the original and is referencing its nihilistic conclusion and characters. But there's still that glimmer of hope that maybe the snowcat turned on and she made it, which is why McCready and Norris didn't find it. And even if you want to argue most of those are sub-reasons and overall there's only one or two, then who cares? There's still pretty major points that link the two movies. It takes place in the location where it all happened. Right off the bat, that's all you really need to automatically link the films. It'd be pretty weird if it was a completely unrelated film that just happened to take place at the Norwegian camp that was found destroyed not even a day later by an American outpost, and an unrelated film that came out 29 years prior. Lastly, in my opinion, get over yourself. The Thing is no different to something like Space in that it has loving homages to the thing that inspired it. It's not flawless. Yeah, the split face placement is all wrong. And how the hell did it just break out of the ice? Also, why did it randomly just attack that guy in the helicopter and cause the thing to crash? I guess you could say it was just destroyed in the explosion, but then why weren't Carter and Derek? Who knows? There's absolutely no reason the Sander thing shouldn't just detach a piece of itself and kill Kate right then and there. But it's still a good movie. I think the soundtrack, while not as good as the original, is still good on its own right. It has a nice atmosphere. The spin they do on the test of the inorganic material idea is actually kind of cool. You can even argue that it links to the original in that because Childs has his earring at the end of the film, even if he was a thing, it learned from its past mistake and it decided to keep the earring, as opposed to leaving it out in the snow when it assimilated Childs. I guess we'll never know. And that's the beauty of it. I can strongly recommend both movies, even if one is significantly better than the other. And just one more thing. Release the pilot cut. Release the Studio ADI cut. I want to see it, so do the rest of us.